Stop blaming yourself. The real reason your online business isn't growing. In this video today, we'll be tackling that specific topic. Recently, my wife sent me this video about conscious discipline and state of my brain state model. And that was a massive aha moment for me. It kind of put things into perspective on why certain things work and why certain things don't work, why certain people are just generally very successful in what they're doing, and why certain people are basically always stuck in a certain position. I've applied it to my own life. I looked at things, okay, what's working and what's not working, and everything kind of fell into place. Let me just quickly explain this to you. I am not a PhD doctor or any medical doctor, so take with a grain of salt. This is the information I've picked up, and the concept just makes sense to me. Just look at this conscious discipline and brain state model. Basically, what it's saying is it's got 3 sections. So the executive state, the emotional state, and the survival state. Let's just quickly run through what that means. So once you're in the survival state, this is basically your fight or flight mode. You react physical, like it's a physical reaction. Your brain sends a message to your body saying, I just want to be safe. Majority of the time, people, once they get into shock mode, they move into what's called the emotional state. Want to be loved and they want to see connection. They just want to, they're constantly in this back and forward argument in their brain. Everything's kind of all over the place mentally, just going from one place to another. Nothing is organized in your brain. You constantly feel like you're just running on a treadmill. We're just going and not even moving one step forward. It's just like you feel like whenever you go a step forward, you feel like you're going 6 back, and that you're constantly in this constant mode, mentally exhausted. And then the key is what's called the executive states. You're in a mindset where you just want to learn, you're looking for skills, you're looking to problem solve, things just work. And all of us have that in the past where everything's clicking and it's moving forward. And then we have these moments where everything just feels stuck. We don't even know how to get out of that particular position. Everything's frozen. And whatever you do, it's like you're going against the stream. And it doesn't matter what you do, it feels like you're constantly going against the stream. You feel tired, you feel exhausted, you just don't want to do anything. The key here is to understand what state you're in and to be able to recognize these cues. Once you start to understand and you can recognize these cues, you can take a step back and say to yourself, okay, I'm in this position and this is what I need to do in order to get out of this state. Because the key is you want to be in a constant executive state, because once you're in this state, everything flows. All these gurus, all these people are telling you you need to be in a flow state, you need to be in a flow state. And you think by yourself, what the heck is everyone talking about flow state? Why am I not getting it? Person B and person C getting it, but I'm not getting it. And sometimes it's like you feel like, oh, I've been to college, I'm a very smart person, but why is this person who's from an educational point of view not even as smart as you and still getting it? Because they understand what it is to be in this executive state. And that's basically what makes them different. And this is where you build resilience. And this is where you build your habits. And this is where you build all the strong things that help you when you're in these other states. This is where it happens. All these skills you build over here. So once you're in this state and this state, it helps you to move over to this state quicker and then move over to that state much quicker. Once you understand this cycle, you can almost step back, look at your surroundings and say to yourself, I'm in this particular state. And you have this self-awareness to move yourself from one state to the next state. This is where you can then move forward in your habits and your goals. And let's just look at it from a different perspective. And then what we do is we look at a few tips that you can implement straight away to put yourself from one state into the other state. Now, this is what's called the survival state. It's basically this the brain. So basically the survival state represents the primal brain and asks questions. The basic fundamental question it asks itself is, am I safe? Sometimes we get into the survival state for the sake of being in the survival state, because our body, our mind doesn't know any difference. So you should be able to say, well, look, I'm okay. I'm safe. There's no lion in here. There's no animal that's going to attack me here. As long as you can get yourself from the survival state into the emotional state, because you go into the shock mode, and then all of a sudden after that, you quickly get moved into what's called the emotional state. You start thinking, you go into what's called the limbic system. Now, these are just all fancy words. It's just basically what it explains. Once you're in that brain state, it represents the mid-level functional and asks questions like, am I loved? You see connections. The way to soothe the upset state is through connection. Now, you at this particular moment have to ask yourself, once you're in this particular state, have you got an environment, or can you create an environment where you can have meaningful connections? Have you got a significant other? Have you got kids, parents, that's brothers, sisters, or even close friends where you can have a meaningful connection? Personally, for me, if I have after a long day, when I see my kids, I just have that meaningful connection. My partner, my wife, I just feel like, oh, I'm loved. Things kind of slow down. It becomes more relaxing. And then you can actually move into what's called the executive state. Now, once you're in the executive state, this is where you can start doing tasks like problem solving. You can actually learn something. You can build habits. And by building the thicker skin, as they say, the resilient side of you. A quick example is, let's say if you've got a kid, all of a sudden they're like shouting and screaming all over the place, they're shocked, they're in the survival state. Think about it. Is this a good time to tell your child to do something? It's not. Let's disagree. By shouting, you keep them in this state. What you need to do at that particular moment is get them into the emotional state. Connect. First, tell them they're safe. The second level is telling them, they're in a loved, they feel connection, that they're loved. And then once they get into the executive state, then they can start learning and listening to your instructions. It's the same way when we are as adults. If we're in a constant survival state, living paycheck to paycheck, we can't even make our bills. We have all these stresses on top of that. And then thinking about creating a business, the chance that the stuff will actually work for you at that point is very limited, because if you're constantly in this state and you're thinking about, oh, I want to leave my 9 to 5 and this is what I want to do. You come home, you scroll all these YouTube or TikTok videos and you think, oh, tomorrow I'm going to do this. But then you're back at this level again, constantly going around circles and circles and circles, and you feel unmotivated. You're constantly in this. And then you basically go back into this emotional state where you think, oh, I'm moving forward. Then you move 5 steps back again. And you don't know what you're doing. So you need to take a step back and say to yourself, let me first create some systems. How can I get out of this state to this state? And ideally, I want to be in this state. Okay. So that is basically where we want to be. And I've got a checklist here. I'll put a free link inside of the description where you can look at that and use it yourself. Make sure you read over it and you can actually put them into practical use. Let's have a look at these. Let's look at the tips here. I'm going to put a link in the description where you can access these tips. It's very easy and simple to follow. What I want you to take away from this is I want you to be able to get in a constant executive state, okay? Just start to realize, okay, whenever I'm in the survival state, how can I move down to the next state and eventually end up in the executive state? Just to make you aware, we go through these cycles over and over again a couple of times a day, depending on if we're at work, sometimes when we are home. It could be that we go over this quite a few times, but the key is, can you get yourself out of this state, and can you move yourself to the next state? If you feel you're in a survival state, remember how we said, am I safe? Find a quiet spot for 5 minutes and just basically do this 5 in, 5 breathing. So 5 seconds in, hold for 5 seconds and out for 5 seconds. Okay, just calm yourself down. This helps you to calm down. And then write one tiny task you can do right now. But by able to do something, you're proving to yourself that you've done something. Then you can create momentum. Set a 10-minute timer and work just on that one task. Once you completed that task, celebrate. This gives you this loving feeling and this connection that you can do it. This will move you into the next stage. Maybe message a person that's supportive to you. Okay, but if you don't have that, the fact that you've celebrated one little task, this is basically write down your latest small win. Okay, and one thing you learned from your recent setback. So again, maybe you had a setback here. You're basically learning here. You've written down that you won. You've written down your latest small win. You basically write down what you learned from it, and then you choose a simple goal. This is key. If you can do that, you're taking care of yourself, you're slowly moving forward. That will help you to move into what's called the executive state. Now, once you're in this feeling, basically what you can do in this is you must have obviously set your own goals. That's a whole different total topic. Start working on your top 3 priorities of that day, and then schedule 1-hour focus blocks where you can learn or work on your side hustle or whatever you want to work on. And in the evening, just reset everything. It's so important to wind everything down. Write down your wins for the day, check what you've completed for the task, and choose the next small thing tomorrow. So by doing that, what happens is you don't put yourself in this survival state, this constant running behind the day. Also, you don't put yourself in this emotional state because you know by the next day, your brain, okay, it's safe, it's got connected. You're trying to push yourself into the executive state because you know exactly what you want to do the following day. This is such an important thing, the emergency reset. You can use this at any time when you feel overwhelmed or stuck. Just go for the emergency reset. You can just stop what you're doing, take 5 deep breaths, ask yourself, what is the one tiny step I can take? Take that step and acknowledge the little progress. Because what you're doing here is you're pushing yourself from one state to the other state. And by doing this, you're basically slowly moving yourself into the executive state. And this has been the massive game changer for me. No one is perfect. You're going to go through these cycles over and over again. The key is to know when to press the emergency reset button to push yourself forward. Not backwards, but forward. By doing this over and over again, when you look back over the course of a week, you might have set a goal to do 10 things. You might not have achieved your 10 things. Guess what? You've achieved 7 things. That's 7 things more than you actually wanted initially. And by doing things, it becomes a habit. When things become a habit, you start to do them naturally. So when you feel unmotivated, take a step back. Press the emergency reset button and see where you're at and slowly move yourself out of these states to the next state. I'm going to put this whole step-by-step on how to do this in the description. You can literally just look at it for free. It's a free Google Doc. Feel free to look at it. Please use it. This has been a massive game changer for me. It's helped me in pretty much all parts of life. If you have never heard of this, I hope this is a gift from you. Have a look at it and hope it helps you. We live in a world today where we're constantly bombarded with information overload, and this will help us to calm down and reset and be able to put in a position where we feel motivated and where we can have the environment where we can start building habits, work on our goals and aspirations, and eventually achieve what we want. It's all about creating momentum. Once we create momentum, it becomes a compounded effect. All these small things we do, it will add up over the period of 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and 6 months. Thank you very much for listening to me. I hope this helps you. Please subscribe to the channel. We do a lot of software reviews. We'll be looking at products that can help you with your productivity. Also, things that can help you to achieve your goals. More things are coming. If you got any questions, please leave them in the comment section. We always answer all of our questions. Please like this video so the algorithm can spread it out to more people. The goal is to help as many people achieve their goals in 2025 and onwards. Thank you very much. God bless and speak to you soon.